Well, race fans, the race season has been over for probably, what, 2 or 3 months now, Rick?
Yeah, something like that. Awards banquets are pretty much complete.
Yeah. By the way, Rick Staley here with Mike Kraft of Cheeseworks, and we had a little fun last year, me and my boy, on our way to Springfield, and we did the Cheeseworks Awards, and thought maybe we'd come back with it again this year. My boy didn't get out to too many races, but Rick has been around.
I've been around quite a few, yes, sir.
But Dale Eaton here at the Napa Auto Parts of St. Joe and the collision repair specialist has given us the opportunity to come here in the shop and be able to do the awards here. So we thought, let's do it. But Rick, a fantastic season, didn't you think?
Yes, sir, and nothing better than being in a race shop here, pickup and race haven here in St. Joe. Dale Eaton, Tim Eaton, as you know, finishing second in winning the points rather at I-35 Speedway.
And B-Mods?
Yeah, and just been a great year all the way around at every local track, every local level.
As you know, I was at Lakeside all year, and I thought we had some fantastic racing out there. As usual, you know, every year Lakeside always puts on a good program, plus the prestige and what have you of Lakeside always draws a lot of good racers out there. And of course that end of the year event that they have, that
4-day event,
that USRA Nationals is just growing into a bigger thing every year, and I think it will continue to. I'm at a loss for car count right now, but I know it was well over 100, 150 cars.
Yeah, I know they had the week before, people just getting ready for that big event. They had like 49 B-Mods pulled into the Lakeside Speedway that night. So that tells you the magnitude of the event as people just preparing for it, that many race cars there.
Before we get into these awards, I might explain it just a little bit, but these are awards for area drivers that compete at area tracks such as Lakeside Speedway, Valley Speedway, I-35 Speedway, Central Missouri Speedway, or a driver from Kansas City that travels in a series that races at tracks in or around the Midwest area, which could include Iowa, Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma. So we're pretty much trying at this point to keep it with local racers at local tracks, but to kind of get into how I come to the conclusion of these awards was that it was kind of a consensus of myself and other media outlets, such as I talked with John Lee of High Flying Photos, which of course has to be one of the premier still photographers in the area, has many of his pictures published in national magazines. So, and John gets around again. I know he's a big sprint car guy. That's part of the reason why I wanted to talk to him, because he got to way more sprint car races than I did this year. And then Trenton Berry from RacingDirt.com, I kind of touched base with him a little bit about the late model and modified, because they're so deeply involved with USMTS, USRA, and MLRA late models, and also Mars late models. So I kind of, like I say, touched base with Trenton when we were down in Springfield for the Turkey Bowl. And then we brought in Rick, and Rick's kind of looked these things over here before we got started, and I think he's kind of in consensus with me.
100% agreement,
as far as the picks are. So that's kind of where we're coming from, just to let you know that it's not Mike Kraft saying this is what I think is the guys that I would pick for drivers of the year. We're going to have track of the year, announcers of the year. So let's get right into it. Rick, why don't you kind of lead us into that first one there with the Grand Nationals?
Okay, the first one we're looking at here is the Grand National class, and several names come to mind, especially like Tim Shields. Total domination at Lakeside. You can't say anymore. How do you say it? The last couple of races of the year, he didn't even race. You know, but he was always challenged by another local driver out of Lancaster, Kansas, Donnie Brown, in that car number 26. Always a threat to win when he goes on the racetrack. Not only did Donnie run Lakeside, he also ran I-35 Speedway on Saturday nights doing double duty, finished second in the points at both tracks. Buzz Caster was in the running for it. Everybody knows old Wamba and Car 54, old guys rule. You know, he started out his career racing against Ben Hurd and the horse and buggy for a fact. And a lot of times we'd see him and Dean Ray talking, comparing AARP cards, senior citizens and all. But Buzz Caster also in the running. David Powell, he is kind of a new name for me in the Grand National class, but he also had a stellar year in the Grand Nationals. Yeah. Austin Johnson, one of the up-and-comers, we call him the sensation because he is no stranger to victory lane in Grand Nationals, but he is moving up to the modified ranks in the coming years.
Oh, is he really? Okay.
Raced modifieds at I-35 Speedway this past year in a modified. So. But,
big step. That's a big step from Grand Nationals up to a modified.
Yeah, very big step. And you talk about Donnie and Buzz up at I-35. It came down to the last race, last lap of the last race to decide the champion, with Buzz Caster winning the point championship. But hats off to Donnie Brown with the second place in both
Lakeside and I-35.
Yeah, and the winner was chosen. Tim Shields, for the impressive run and the pure dominance he had at Lakeside Speedway, is your winner of the Kraft Cheese Works Video Award.
That's I have to explain a little bit when I got into consideration of who I thought would be the driver of the year. It was not only being a points champion, but you know, you have to take into consideration also the strength of the field.
Yes.
How many cars they got? There again, the drivers that are in those in that class.
Yeah, so many variables go into something like that.
Right,
it really
and it gets kind of tough. But like you said, I picked Tim Shields to be the driver of the year for the Grand Nationals, and I got Donnie Brown as second because of the two second place finishes. Because there again, most of those guys only ran at one track, and Donnie was running at two, and you know, it takes a lot of maintenance.
And never missed a race at either track.
Right.
Either track. So that is commitment from not only him, but his crew and his family both, for him to be able to do that. 100% agree on your choices.
Like I say, to me, it's a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this deal.
Yeah.
So
a big congratulations to Tim Shields.
Yeah, I just wonder if Tim will be back in Grand Nationals next year. Or,
if you notice things toward the last of the year, and in the big race at Lakeside, the 4-day USR event, he was in a B-Mod. You did see him driving a B-Mod with the famous number 42, the Dark Knight on the side, which is kind of his trademark. So let's just have to wait till 2016 and see what Tim Shields is going to be driving.
I think he did that same thing 2 years ago, but then came back to the Grand National. And I wish I had written down, I know the car, the chassis is a Winkler who used to race Grand Nationals. I'm trying to remember was it Tim Winkler? I can't remember. But anyway.
I'm pretty sure Tim Winkler, yes.
But he's the chassis builder, and I don't know who the motor is. I wish I'd gotten a little more information on this.
Can't tell you that, but I do know that Bar Grill, I was trying to think of the name of his sponsor on the side of that car, but he does go with the Dark Knight. But it's Bar Grill sponsor on the side of that race car.
Should have done more of that too, because let's face it, Rick, man, those sponsors, they need about as much credit as the racers themselves, because it does take a lot of money, and if you're going to have the right equipment, which you got to have to win, and the driver to do it, you got to have somebody behind you, because it's just not going to happen.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the stock cars, and the nominees for stock cars this year. I come up with Brett Heater, who won the points championship at Lakeside, and then Bobby Tavis, I think, was second. Dean Ray was first at I-35, and won the points up there. Thomas Roberts was second. And man, get two guys that have been points champions in that class for quite a while. But it's also one other guy I wanted to mention was to give honorable mention to Kevin Anderson, because I think Kevin won 7 or 8 races at Lakeside. Of course, he had that nasty wreck where he barrel rolled down the front straightaway.
Yeah, that was about as ugly a wreck as you'll ever see for people to come out unscathed. You know?
That could have made highlight reel, I think, anywhere.
Yeah, it could have. It was. I got to hand it to Reed Brothers Photography. They had some really good pictures of that wreck and everything. If there's such a thing as a good picture of the wreck, but the photography was really good. And how do you say it? Kevin Anderson did bounce back, come back and won races. And I'm going to give a hats off here to USRA President Todd Staley. He offered up his stock car to Kevin Anderson he would not miss a race, because at that time, Brett Heater and Kevin Anderson were neck and neck in the points. Todd Staley offered him his car. Now, to me, that's pretty good for the USRA to offer him a race car to continue to compete for the point title.
Without a doubt, tremendous organization for any of the tracks that are associated with them. In fact, I think all 4 tracks that we're talking about here are all our Valley, Lakeside, I-35, and CMS all have a USRA class of some kind at their track. But I was in Kevin Anderson's pits after that race, and I can honestly say I think Kevin was visibly shaken.
Oh yeah, anybody would be after that.
Because it was a pretty horrific crash.
Yeah.
And even that night, Kevin was talking about taking a couple of weeks off to kind of get himself back together because the car was destroyed, and they did have to come back and redo that. But
yeah, and anything to go that far in the air without a stewardess on it is amazing. Without a flight attendant on that, because it left without being told to. So.
Okay, yeah, we've talked a lot about Kevin, but man, you've got to hand it to Dean Ray, the old veteran. I mean, I think you told me just a while ago 19 feature wins that Dean had. And man, a stellar season, and it's not like
10 in a row at the end of the season. Had a DNF the last race of the year.
Yeah. I think I was there. I remember that.
But Dean Ray, you just can't say enough about his year. And he told everybody, said this is one of the luckiest, just all-around good years he's ever had in his racing career. And again, dominance. But you got to give a hats off to Thomas Roberts. He won a couple of features up there this year. Also, John Bowler Jr., who's from right here in St. Joe also, he picked up a feature win against Dean Ray. So he wasn't unbeatable, but man, was he ever dominant up there.
Yeah, and well, talking in that same line, Brett Heater, of course, had another stellar year at Lakeside. I think that was, I'm going to step out here a little bit, 3rd points championship, I think.
3rd in a row for him, yes.
For him at Lakeside. And he had his hands full with Kevin Anderson when Kevin was running good.
Yeah.
Why, it was a battle royal. But still, you got to give it to Brett. Probably one of the best young drivers in the street stock class that I've seen in a long time. And I love Brett's attitude. He's told me many times, if I can't win clean, then I won't make the move. I won't try it. And I think that's one of the things that you really appreciate in a young driver is that ability to kind of hold back a little bit and wait for that opportunity, to make the pass and do it right.
And you talk about respect between a couple of drivers. I saw Dean Ray and I saw Brett Heater talking before, because Brett has run I-35. He has picked up a feature win there in the past, also at I-35 Speedway. But you talk about mutual respect. You have the, let's don't say older, elderly, because Dean would get on to me for that, because he's still a young man at heart. But he tells me, he said, he loves people like Brett, said you can race side by side and know what they're going to do. Another driver, hats off to, is Jeff Dixon, that had some feature wins up at I-35 Speedway. We saw him and Dean Ray race 5 or 6 races side by side, wheel to wheel, and never touch, and only inches separate them at the checker flag.
I think I had some video of that.
Yeah, you did. That was good.
It's funny, several of these things that we've mentioned already.
Me and Nelson here, I tend to get a little bit excited when we race like that too. I think people notice that sometimes. So,
Okay, once again, the winner for the stock cars, we're going to give it to Dean Ray, and a close second for Brett Heater, and an honorable mention for Dean Ray, and then of course those other guys that you've mentioned. Well, you can't leave them out either. But tell us a little bit about the B-Mods, and I think we've got the 2nd place finisher running around over here, but go ahead.
Yeah, he's kind of associated with Pickup and Race Haven, Napa Auto Parts here. Nominees, you've got so many great drivers, but the nominees were Ed Knoll out of Lakeside Speedway, who was your point championship in just his 2nd year back behind the wheel of a race car. A lot of people don't know that Ed Knoll actually drove a late model early in his career, and he kind of got out of it to race motorcycles and
drag racing.
Drag racer on motorcycles, and they call him Team Doughboys. And I said, why do they call you Team Doughboys? He said, come and meet my crew. Well, that answered the question. We didn't have to ask any more. But also nominated, you have Brad Smith, which was Valley Speedway's point championship, and Tim Eaton. You talk about overcoming diversity, wrecking a car, coming back the next week to finish 2nd. We told Tim one time, if you ever learn how to win a heat race or finish good in a heat race and get a good starting position, you're going to be hard to beat. He was hard to beat anyway. One of the best in the business is Tim Eaton. He was your I-35 Speedway points championship. And Jacob Ebert, CMS point champion. Andy Bryant, he ran several different tracks. He had wins at I-35 Speedway. About anywhere Andy Bryant went, he was a winner.
I was going to say, I don't think he actually ran long enough anywhere to actually be in the points, but
Other than the USRA B-Mod national points, which he really done well in that.
he won the championship on that deal. And let me speak again about the selection of this, in that me personally, I kind of lean toward giving somebody that ran at so many tracks a little bit more kudos than I did somebody that just ran at one track and won a championship.
Well, the effort it takes to travel and the expense it takes to travel, thank goodness gas prices are coming down a little bit.
Right.
That's making
Help
it
the
easier.
racers this
helping
summer.
the racers some to travel more. But Andy Bryan, he's from way down Nevada, Missouri. Is that correct?
No, it's Kansas. I want to say
Fort Smith.
No, that's
Fort
Arkansas.
Wayne.
No.
Okay. Fort Scott.
That might be
Yep,
it.
Fort
Could be.
Scott. I knew I'd get
Fort
one
Scott,
of the Forts
Kansas.
in a minute. Fort Scott, Kansas is where Andy Bryant's from, because I said Nevada and Alan corrected me one time. It
Yeah.
is Fort Scott.
And I think Andy, is he not only 18 or 17, something like that?
16 or 17 years
Yeah.
old is what Andy Bryant is, and running that Phoenix chassis.
Yeah.
I tell you what, he gets the best out of that Phoenix chassis, and always up front in that race car.
Yeah. Well, tell us who the winner is, Rick.
The winner
Like
of
I
this
say,
is
sounds like
none
a great
other than Andy Bryant.
Andy Bryan. And who come in second?
Jacob Ebert is a close second on that, because Jacob, I tell you, he put together a year that, how do you say it, when he was there, you knew he was the car you had to beat.
Uh-huh.
So, and Jacob ran a lot of other tracks. He ran with us at I-35 a few weeks. Also saw him at Atchison one night, believe it or not. But
Yes.
Jacob Ebert,
Yeah.
very versatile too, and ran good at any track he was at.
Speaking of Adrian, I forgot to put one name in here who I thought really had a really good year all year too, and that was Ethan Isaac.
Yeah.
He won a race, one
At
of those
Atchison.
big B-Mod races
Yep.
at Atchison, and some other place, Humboldt. I saw him win a
Humboldt,
race
he won
down
it,
there.
Battle of the Bull Ring.
And but anyway, Ethan had a tremendous year too, and there again, one of those travelers
Yeah.
that really doesn't settle in anywhere. I think I seen him up at I-35 too. Didn't I?
He came up as a spectator a few times, but did not
Did not
race at
race. Oh,
I-35
okay.
this year. He raced at Lakeside with the big
Yeah.
show down there,
Yeah.
and but he raced at Atchison twice, and he won both times.
Yeah.
Both trips to Atchison County Raceway, because it's kind of funny. He borrowed the gear to race there from Phil Birkinshaw, the track owner,
I'll be darned.
and. Like Phil said, you'd think he'd come back more. You know? but it was one of them deals that he actually did do a lot of traveling, different tracks and everything, but they're always a threat to win too. Ethan Isaac.
There again, Isaac's a name that's pretty familiar with racers in Kansas City. If I remember correct, some of his dad or somebody raced uncle at I-70 on the
They raced at
asphalt.
I-70 and raced at Topeka.
Yeah.
They raced at Topeka Heartland Park a lot before it closed.
Yeah.
And I think they've been more or less searching for a home track the last few years since Heartland Park has closed, but they're at home about anywhere because they're good, clean racers.
Probably one of the toughest classes this year. For me, it was just so difficult because I knew about so many good drivers and different places that I'd seen them win. And the competition in that class. But congratulations to Andy Bryan for winning the Driver of the Year award in the B-Mod class. And that'll move us up to the A-Mods. And there again, man, this is a tough one too.
Yeah,
It's
wide
not
open.
exactly easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here are the nominees for the A-Mod class, and that's going to be Dennis Elliott. Of course, he was the points champion at I-35. Terry Schultz, points champion at CMS. Kerry Davis, the points champion at Lakeside. And I also threw Tim Carrick in there because there again, he pulled a double on us and finished second in the points at Lakeside and CMS. And like I say, that stands pretty tall with me. And I want to give an honorable mention to Darren Fuqua. He was a winner of several USRA events and races at Lakeside, as well as several feature wins at different tracks throughout the area. But, I think to think about this, and once again, that thing about traveling and not being at one track, and I appreciate those guys that win championships. I think Kerry Davis made a stellar effort this year at Lakeside. Kerry was kind of on a rough run for a while, jumping around in several different chassis, trying to find that combination, to make it work, and just couldn't, and then got that GRT. And man, he's been cooking out there at Lakeside, I think. And I'm there again. Should have my facts probably a little straighter, but 6, 7, 8 feature wins at
I'm
Lakeside.
pretty sure 8 feature wins at Lakeside Speedway for
Yeah.
Kerry Davis. The old long hair bandit. He really
Yeah.
had a good year in that race car. How you say it, almost like he's found the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Coming back and winning again and feeling good.
I was had the opportunity. I did a Father's Day special with his dad, and I'm having my senior moment. Can't remember his dad's name. Anyway. Did this senior did, I'll get it. Did a Father's Day special with his dad, and had the opportunity to go out to the house and talk with them, and his dad was just emphatic about how Kerry does his homework and studies up on these things, and these shock packages, as exotic as they're becoming, and the new chassis and all that. But got to give it to Kerry for putting together a really good year out there, and. Once again, Tim Carrick, just 2 points championship. CMS is such a small track, and so many cars down there. Sometimes almost always start a full field, and to work your way through there in a way, it's kind of like I-35. Only I think CMS is smaller than 35, isn't it?
Both of them are called 3/8 miles.
Yeah, okay.
They're different configuration. Yeah.
But hard to get through that field and get up there, and just a tough decision. Dennis Elliott, same thing at I-35. How many Dennis went up there?
Dennis won 9 races. And not only did he win those 9 races, he was the king of Kansas City. He won that race.
At Valley?
A good story about Bethany Fairground race that's up there too. John Bowler always handles that, puts on a good show for us up at Bethany. But Dennis Elliott blew an engine the night before at CMS. And he was scheduled to race, and in order to pick up his Northwest Missouri Championship trophy, he had to beat out of the race. Well, he calls me and said, "I can't make it." I said, "Oh yeah, you can." I said, "Don't, you're panicking, you're whining." And I went ahead and entered him and got everything ready for him. And sure enough, they got the motor in it from helps and from the good neighbors and crew come down there. Oh, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna run. The car will.
I heard this same story.
Yeah, same story. Goes out and wins. Wins the big race at Bethany.
Something about something on the wing on the back. Couldn't race with the wing
because
the wing
it was a big motor. And couldn't.
It wouldn't work. Yeah, I heard that story.
Yeah, it's just not going to handle right. He goes out and he wins the heat race. He wins the feature, and I go up to him and I said, "You got to be a whiner." And he just laughed at me, hugged me up, and he said, "It's just been a good year." It's been a good year. So. But Dennis Elliott, always a threat to win any track he goes. Always great equipment. And, you're talking about father-son teams. Dick Elliott, his father, is always right there with him, helping in every way he can.
Got to be a special deal. I wish I could do that with one of my kids, kind of in a way I do with RC. But anyway, different story, not real racing. But.
And if I could elaborate a little on Darren Fuqua, the year he came to I-35 for the first time ever this year. Rolled into the racetrack, went out and run the heat race, and didn't hear much out of him, Well, he was consistently in the pack. Went out there in the feature, finished second in the feature. Had a real good night. I saw him after, and he said, "If I'd just adjusted the right way, I'd have won it hands down." And he said, "I will be back." He said, "Fun little track." He had a good night. Racers always looking for that little extra. Little extra.
I was going to say, I don't know how many guys I talked to that have won, and it was a little tight, or it was a little loose, and I'm thinking, you won!
Yeah, wait, what else do you need? But for him, to me, to come to a track, never saw that track before, go out there, and I-35 is a tricky track, because you got the high banks, long straightaways, narrow turns and everything. It's kind of a finesse track, but once you get it figured out, you can put the speed down, and hats off to Darren Fuqua, figured it out really quick.
There again, that's one of those deals where I kind of put a little bit more emphasis on this thing of traveling, because Darren has gotten around this year and I don't think ran that much at Lakeside, but still did good. One guy that I forgot to mention that I wanted to put in here too, that I saw run up at I-35 several times, is it Robbie Reed?
Robbie Reed, car number 5. I was going to bring him up actually because he won the big Racing for Ryan night up there, which is one of our biggest nights. I think it was 1,600 to win that night. And Robbie Reed came from the back of the pack, picked them off one at a time, never touched the car on the victory lane. And to me, one of the class acts, he had actually 3 feature wins at I-35 on the year in a limited schedule at the
Yeah.
racetrack. So
I think I seen him win 2 of those, but I'm not sure. But anyway,
very,
I was,
very good driver, smooth, clean driver.
I was impressed with Robbie this year. I don't think I'd ever seen him drive before.
And coming
but-
in from the Moberly area.
Yeah.
Used to race motorcycles.
Did he
was
really?
a round track motorcycle racer.
Wow, I'll be darned. Gosh.
So he's an outstanding driver and outstanding young man too.
Yeah. Very impressive to watch. Like I say, when somebody comes in like that you don't know and you see the car and the number and you think, man, who's that guy? He's fast. And then I thought, well, Robbie Ray, yeah, he ran up here I think a week ago or so.
And another one, 35, I'd like to give a hats off to is Darren Shaw.
Yeah.
At car number 11, he runs the Ford motor in it, which is, and the Shaw chassis. Fusion Graphics sponsor on his race car, and I tell you what, he had a good year. He had a lot of wins. Had to stop a few times and go to weddings and family functions and things like that. Kind of took him out of the point race, but always a threat to win. I'm pretty sure 4 feature wins on the year for him. So he had a good year also in that 11 car.
Since you're throwing out other names,
Well, we can keep going, yeah.
I'm going to mention another one, a guy from CMS and run at Lakeside a few times. It seems to have most luck down at CMS. In fact, I think he won a couple of big money races down there, Jim Moody.
Jim Moody, yes, very good.
Another hard runner, but once again, tough trying to figure out who it is. But
Yeah, well, I got to throw another name out. Matter of fact, you're getting ready to mention this name, but I am going to say this about Terry Schultz. He came to I-35. He comes early in the season because he's got a long drive from Sedalia. And he came up there. He had 2 feature wins on the year at I-35
Did he really? I
Speedway
didn't
also.
realize it,
Yes,
yeah.
number 9, he won Victor Longfellow Foundation on the side of it. What a job he done. Limited again the number of times he could get up there to race with us, but when he did, he made the best of it.
Well, it's funny you talk about Terry because that's who I'm picking as driver of the year.
I kind of expected that, yeah.
It's going to be Terry Schultz, and one of the reasons is he finished second in the USRA points championship for the year, and he's a guy that travels around quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So Terry, congratulations on a great year. I know we didn't mention your name much. We talked about a lot of other guys, but I think your record stands for itself, and we don't need to elaborate. Terry been around for a long time.
And by the way, it's Terry's birthday. I've never went up to him and talked to him when it wasn't his birthday. I think I wished him happy birthday 4 races this year. But anyway, happy birthday, Terry, and congratulations on winning this award.
Okay, I'm going to send you into some territory here you're probably not real familiar with. But how about the ASCS Warrior Sprints? And it's kind of a simple one. There wasn't a lot of talking about on this, but you take care of that.
I tell you, ASCS Warrior Region, I've had the pleasure of several years at US 36 Raceway announcing for the ASCS when they come into town and everything. And one name always comes up front and comes to the top in the ASCS, and that's Jonathan Cornell.
Right.
Jonathan Cornell, one of the best sprint car drivers you'll ever see, not to mention being an all-around nice guy, just a super nice guy to talk to, always willing to do an interview, and even work with us with the kids there at 36 when he's there. So. Class act is Jonathan Cornell. Evan Martin, you know good as I do, he is one of the most fierce competitors you will ever see, always in the racing in the thick of things. And Corey Nelson, another good choice for the ASCS Warrior Region Sprints.
More or less kind of just went with the points on this deal. I didn't make a lot of ASCS races this year, getting a little tougher to get out there and do some of those. I won't go into why, but it's just a little tougher to do it. But just sort of went with the points. I agree with you. Jonathan Cornell is a guy that you were talking about. Terry Schultz showing up at a track. Jonathan's the same way. He can show up at a track he's never been to before, and all of a sudden, by feature time, while they've got to set up, him and his crew work really hard at that. And Jonathan's able to pretty much step in there, figure out what's going on. Like I say, get the right setup and just show them how it's done.
Yeah, if I could throw another name out there, Jay Russell had a good year also. Klein Motors in that sprint car. He's right here in St. Joe. Klein Motors and RVs, but really think he had a breakout year. Very competitive. He was in the top 5 or 6 in points himself. So Jay Russell, real good year for him this year also.
I think I saw Jay win a race down at Double X Speedway last year, if I remember. And I hate to go back to last year, but pretty impressive. I don't know if you've ever been to Double X, but man, I mean, a bull ring, holy smokes. Gosh, tight corners, narrow straightaways. I mean, them things I swear, I don't know if they can get 4 cars beside each other.
I don't know if you could or not. I don't think you'd take them through a turn 4 wide.
Definitely not too wide is doing good
But,
there.
yeah, Jay Russell, I just thought I'd throw that
Yeah.
name in there because he is one of our local drivers, and he makes a lot of races.
Yeah.
A lot of races.
In case you haven't figured it out, Jonathan Cornell is the driver of the year in ASCS 360 Sprints, and that's going to take us into the War or Wingless Sprints. I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of 2 separate deals because you guys were running wingless sprints at I-35, but it wasn't under the War banner, so it's kind of the same
Yeah.
thing but a little different.
And how do you say it? Up until 2016.
Yeah.
Big news coming out of I-35 Speedway, as everyone knows, Casey Schumann, who is one of our nominees, he actually is the owner now of the War Region Sprint Cars. He has chosen I-35 Speedway to be his home track. In other words, when they're not on the road racing somewhere, they will be racing at I-35 Speedway. 3 to 4 races already scheduled, and looking for more. Big news coming out of I-35 Speedway. Mike Johnson able to get that pulled off with Casey Schumann. And how do you say it? I'm telling my age now, but I've known Casey Schumann ever since he was a young guy.
Yeah.
And believe me, fans, he could drive too. He
Yeah.
could drive then also.
Yeah.
How do you say it? He's been to I-35 Speedway 4 times, won all 4 races.
Very talented driver,
Yes.
nice guy. You know, sometimes when you get past the B mods into the A mods, it kind of starts, but then into the sprint cars and late models, the drivers become a little bit more, I'm going to use the word finicky,
Yeah.
in that
That's a good choice of words.
they're a little harder to approach and to do stuff with or get them to do interviews and what have you, as far as I'm going. But Casey has always been real friendly with
Yes,
me and the
me
Cheese
too.
Works. And I had an opportunity. I was in Phoenix last year for a wingless race out there, and they had the I can't remember the young man that died in sprint cars that got electrocuted in his trailer. Gosh, I can't think of his name.
think of his name right.
But anyway,
kind of got a block.
He was in that car
Yeah.
that the dad still owns and runs, and they let me put an in-car camera and actually rolled over on the first lap. Well, he got help, but anyway,
Yeah.
you know, just after the race says, well, I'm sorry, you know, about what happened. Hope you got some videos, something like that. But anyway, nice guy.
Yeah.
Probably nothing could happen any better to War than for him to
Yeah.
be involved in that. But anyway,
They have the passion for it.
Yes,
And,
exactly.
And moving on, another nominee for this was Chris Parkinson. He was your War Region East Points champion, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And Chris Parkinson always brings that beautifully colored race car.
Yeah.
And one thing as an announcer I always like, he brings us a bunch of stuff to give away.
Oh, okay.
I love
Yeah.
giving stuff to the kids and to
Uh-huh.
the fans and everything. And Chris Parkinson, always a class act. Always a great guy, giving stuff back, giving back to the sport he loves so much. But he is a nominee also. And the old yellow number 11, well, 51 most of the time, has been 11, has been a 41 and a 36.
Yeah.
Because I wrote an article on Mitchell Moore earlier this year, and we didn't know what number to use. He told me just pick one. Just pick one. But Mitchell Moore in that, I call it the yellow bird when he's out there racing, number 51, he picked up a couple of feature wins at 35 this year also in the non-wing sprint cars. All of those very worthy nominees.
I think you forgot Chad Goff. I'll throw that
I
in there.
did forget Chad
But
Goff.
Chad,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this year. Chad was leading the race and kept doing wheelies
down the back straight,
down the
and
back
front
straight of
yeah.
brothers. And Mitchell Moore caught up with him and got around him and won that race. But anyway, all very worthy nominees.
Yeah, because I call old Chad Goff two-wheelers. He don't never use the same 2 wheels when he's on the racetrack, you know.
Yeah, and I'm going to explain the winner on this just a little bit. I'd love to give it to Casey Schumann, but there again, I'm trying to stick with folks from Kansas City and around here and run here regularly. So Chris Parkinson, for the second year in a row, Chris Parkinson gets the nod as the driver of the year in the War or Wingless Sprint class. And I'm going to give Mitchell Moore a close second on that
yeah.
because Mitch is usually right in the thick of it. Like
Yeah.
when that 51 shows up, you better plan on bringing your best stuff because he's bringing his.
Yeah. Yeah, and not afraid to drive it and use that equipment either.
No,
He will
no.
use every inch that car and track gives him. He really will.
I know Mitch and his family pretty well,
Yeah.
and you know, you always hate to use this term because you think, how can anybody be on a limited budget
Yeah.
and have a sprint car or a race car of any kind? Because, you know, bare minimum, you're talking many thousands. I
Yes.
won't put a figure on it, but many thousands, and you're thinking limited budget, sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mitch takes care of equipment. I've watched him race I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure all these guys do, because this is not a big winning paying series. It's a weekend deal for a lot of these guys. I hate to use the word hobby because it's actually more than that. Sometimes
Yeah.
they spend more time in this stuff than they do
It's a
working.
passion.
Passion.
Passion would be a good word to use.
Right.
Yeah.
But that brings us on to the, anyway, congratulations, Chris, like I say, on 2 years in a row.
Congratulations. Well
Uh,
deserved.
410 wing sprints. You notice on Cheeseworks, we don't ever cut for these mistakes. We just keep
Keep
rolling.
just
You
rolling right through.
your lips and you go
If
on.
you cut for every mistake I made, you could be here for months. You know.
Once again, this one to me is fairly simple in that Danny Lazowski won the
The dude.
opening season. The dude, I guess he still lives in Dover.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Mhm.
Dover,
To the
Missouri.
best of my knowledge, yes.
But he won the opening season championship for the National Sprint League. So man, I mean, man,
Hats off to him.
there's no givings on that
No,
deal. I
no,
mean,
hats
he
off to
earned
him.
that deal, and I'm kind of glad to see Danny kind of getting back into the mainstream of things. And I'm not saying that he wasn't running some good series. I'm just saying that he's getting back into the big stuff again,
Yeah.
and that's good to see for Danny
Yeah.
because he was doing a lot of 360 racing. And
Yeah.
once again, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm
No.
just saying it's not where Danny was at one time
Right.
with World of Outlaws and, you know, running stuff like that all the time. But it's good to see Danny. I think he's kind of getting his foot back in the door.
Yeah.
And getting the
Hopefully
opportunity
land that
to,
big sponsor to get him there, because a lot of times it's just the opportunity and sponsors that make a team work. You
right,
know, that make it
exactly,
work.
exactly. And we're giving Danny the Driver of the Year award in the 410s, and of course you have to give second to Brian Brown from Valley.
Yeah.
That's not the right name of the town. Anyway, we're Valley Speedways. But Brian had another good year, won several feature races around the
Green
country.
Valley.
Green Valley, thank you, Rick. I knew you could help me out.
Yeah.
That's why I got you here, man.
Yeah.
You
But
can
you
think
realize
of
I'm getting that age too, you know.
But Green Valley.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I think Brian had another pretty good year.
Real
at,
good year.
At Knoxville. I don't think he had a second place year like he did 2 years in a row, but still he was in the A main and
To
had a
make
strong
the
run.
A main there is quite an accomplishment.
Without a doubt.
It is.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you jump in on the ULMA because there again it's kind of a
Okay.
points deal.
Yeah. When you talk about it, the ULMA, you had a lot of good drivers, and you saw them at a lot of different tracks.
Have you guys had them at 35 yet?
No, have not had them at 35.
Man, you got to talk to them. It's a fun series.
I think we got them coming this year.
Do good.
Yeah, we do
Good
have
deal.
one. I know we have the MLRA, which we're going to get
Yeah.
to in a few minutes. But the ULMA, John Melloway, great job by him. Todd McCoy and Peyton Looney are our three nominees.
Yeah.
These guys battled back and forth all year for the points battle, and you're going with John Melloway, who was your point winner.
Right.
If I'm correct.
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
I had the opportunity to see him race a couple of times, both I think at CMS, and you know they kind of want to call this a limited series, but there again, them boys are spending some big money there on this deal.
They are.
It's not a cheap deal at all.
No.
And good drivers, good cars, good equipment. Sam Sticklin, I believe,
Yeah, Sticklin.
is the coordinator or media person for the bunch, and does a good job at promoting the ULMA.
Yep.
And boy, if they come to a track anywhere close to y'all, you want to make sure and get out there. I think they were Lakeside, if I remember right,
They
toward
were,
the end of the year. They got invited.
MLRA was there.
Well, the ULMA was there at the
They were
very end.
okay. Yeah,
very
yes,
end,
they were. Yes,
very
they
end
were.
of the season,
Yeah, you're right.
and put on a good show out there. Big track for them to run on. I think they do get down on Moberly. They run the high banks down at Moberly.
Yeah.
And put on a good show down there. But anyway, we're going to give it to, who did you say?
John Melloway.
John Melloway.
Congratulations,
Well,
John.
congratulations, John, for being Driver of the Year in
And-
the ULMA.
And second place will be going to Todd McCoy, right?
Right.
Okay.
And Peyton Looney, by the way, I talked with,
Good honorable mention for him. Great
Yeah.
year.
I talked with Trenton Berry because I was there again wanting to get some info on the late model deal because I only catch a few races. And he said Peyton Looney is really going to be one to watch. He said he's a young man.
Up and comer.
And might have won the points championship, but had a couple of DNFs, I believe he said, and a disqualification. Don't know what for, but anyway,
Yeah.
I guess he was right in the middle of the points for a long run through that series. And he said, remember that name, Peyton Looney, he's going to be there.
Yeah, and how you say it when you say something like a disqualification, that don't mean he was cheating. That means there may have been a half inch here or a quarter inch there. The car
Yeah.
moved while on the track or something.
Yeah.
Not saying anything bad, just maybe not
Something
spec after the race. Something
Right.
happened on the track.
Exactly. That gets us up to the MLRA late models, and the nominees are Terry Phillips, who was the points champion for the MLRA, and second in the points was Chad Simpson. But boy, there's one guy that you have to put the name in there because he won 19 features, and that's Jesse Stovall with that black diamond,
Yes.
which I think comes out of Louisiana. And man, he just had one of those years that you only dream about, like Dean Ray talking.
Just picking up win after win after win, no matter where you get. It's either feast or famine, win or don't finish.
Yeah.
It's kind of where you end up there.
I think he had kind of a rough start to the year. I think he had some motor problems, if I remember right, what he told me. And if it hadn't have been for that, they probably would have won the MLRA. But Terry Phillips, Mr. Consistency, who I don't think had a feature win this year. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
I mean, has been points champion in MLRA. I forget how many times holds the record for wins. Mr. Late Model around here from the Springfield area. But still, I got to give it to Jesse Stovall with the 19 feature wins. Trenton Berry told me that he was on the 19 feature wins was only second to one of the Lucas Oil late model drivers who had beat him as far as that goes. So
Very impressive year.
Yeah.
Very impressive year. How do you say it? Once he got it figured out, he didn't let off the gas after that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Jesse, congratulations, man, on a great 2015. You are driver of the year for the MLRA. You want to talk about the track of the year?
Yeah. You awarded this to overall appearance, track, race programs presented, concessions, announcers, laboratories, which is restrooms for those country folk like me, you know.
Well, some would say bathroom. But
Yeah, restrooms, where you say outhouse, whatever, you know. Track condition, parking, and good racing. And the nominees are pretty simple because it's most of our local tracks: I-35 Speedway, Central Missouri Speedway, Lakeside Speedway, and Valley Speedway. And you know I'm just a little bit partial with I-35 Speedway here because a lot of work and effort has went into I-35 Speedway to get it the best racing surface possible. Because if you get the surface right, and Mike Knight and Mike Johnson, they are particular. They work at it. They want that track perfect for the drivers. They know it's better for the fans when it's that way. And my hat's off to them because I-35 Speedway always clean facilities, restrooms. Concession stands second to none. You even got the trackside bar and grill. We even went out of our way during intermission and had a Power Wheels race this year. I'm sure
that was
you
fun.
remember that.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And we've even decided to go one step further this year during intermission. We're going to have 6 races during intermission for the Power Wheels, and we're going to crown
6?
a Power Wheels point champion. We even have the rules for it and everything made up, so we're ready to go with that this year. Very excited to bring the Power Wheels during intermission to I-35 Speedway.
Oh, that ought to be fun. Those kids, for being down there on the track, and their parents were with them, and
Grandparents.
you could just see it in their faces. I mean, and I remember the first race, they didn't know which way to go. They were headed down the straightaway to go into turn 1.
Yeah, we had the parents chasing them down, run them down, and we had them lined up, and we got a picture of them all lined up, and each one of them were just like race car drivers. They were looking at the other sides of the competition, you know, instead of looking ahead or looking at us. But yeah, a lot of fun with that. Let's talk a little about Central Missouri Speedway coming back. Earl has opened that track back up. This was their second year now, if I'm not mistaken. Working on their third year coming into 2016, but they have had good car counts, good racing action. Exciting for CMS.
I think one of the knocks on CMS for a while there is that it seemed like they had really long intermissions, and I think they've solved that problem. They brought in some more dirt or clay or whatever. I think it was last year before the season started, and they've worked that in. And, you know, it used to be somebody'd be out there on that grader and you'd be sitting there for 45 minutes or an
Yeah.
hour while somebody graded the track, and that, for race fans, man, that's a killer. It is for me.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, they talk a lot about intermission during, you know, entertainment during intermission and everything. 35, we try to entertain during intermission.
Uh-huh.
But one thing we do, we never have an intermission to fit what I do.
Uh-huh.
I make what I do fit the
Fit the
time they
intermission,
give
yeah.
me, and that way, you know, it fills the
Uh-huh.
empty space. That's
Right,
what it does.
yeah.
But,
But-
Central having a good year.
A good program, good announcers, things are well kept, you know.
Very good speedway.
Actually, I think most of these speedways you can put into that category. Lakeside's pretty much the same way.
And hats off to Don and Donna Mars, first year running that track by themselves completely, doing a great job down at Lakeside Speedway on the big half mile.
They've brought in a really good crew there. Again, most of them inexperienced, but I think the year went smoothly.
And I'd like to throw a name out there, is Nicole Knoll, Ed Knoll's wife. She
yes.
does a lot for intermission down
She
there.
has.
They sponsored the nickel drop, not only at Lakeside, but at I-35 Speedway too, putting a lot of cash up for the kids to come out and
Uh-huh.
pick up off the track. Because some of them said, what if they leave some on the track? Isn't that a hazard? Let me tell you, chickens couldn't pick corn off a track any better than kids pick coins up off of it.
I bet
We even had some drivers out there rooting around saying, "Move, Daddy needs new tires," you know. But no, we had a lot of fun. But hats off to Nicole Knoll for what she does down there during intermission. Does a great job.
Gorse Valley Speedway, Dennis out there, he does a good job.
Yep.
They have the school bus rides at intermission,
Yeah.
and you know, lots of parking, fun track to go to. Enjoy the races out there. So
Yeah, and they
It's-
also run I want to call them midget modifies, but they're not. What is the name for the modifies? Makes you
mod
wanna
lights?
just, yeah, mod lights. Makes you
Mod
want to just pick them up, stick them in your pocket,
Yeah.
you know. But they look almost like a big die-cast car.
Yeah, yeah.
But they do have the little rear gear in them and everything, but that's really entertaining class. We've had those at 35 once in the past, looking maybe to get them back again. But Valley runs those kind of different kind of classes for them down there.
yeah.
So.
Fun show to go to. Of course, they have to be over by 11 o'clock, which
Curfew.
is a good deal there. I mean, you know you're going to be out of there and on your way. So, you know, timely program,
Yep.
entertaining, fun track to go to. Rick, boy, for me, this was a tough one.
It'd have to be.
It come down to actually two tracks. I mean, I'm not saying the others weren't close, because
Right.
everybody was close on
Right.
this deal. But, you know, I get around during the summer and I see a lot of races, see a lot of tracks and stuff. And, man, I pick I-35 Speedway to be the
Well-
track of the year for this year, with CMS a close second.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you from the bottom of our heart from Mike Johnson and Kyle Johnson, as that is what they strive for. They really work hard to make sure it is a top-notch facility. We welcome you there. We appreciate you being there. To us, it's an honor when you come and videotape for us at I-35 Speedway, but thank you very much for that honor.
Well, I appreciate that, Rick, but there again, I think the honors deserved for what they do up there. Mike and Kyle have done a good job this year, and I always enjoy coming up there. I feel welcome. I mean, some of these tracks, sometimes, I'm not going to mention any, but you go to them and you think, why am I even here?
And, you know, I-35, the car count was great
Yes,
this year.
yes.
Big car counts, exciting racing. How do you say it? Most of the races undecided till the last lap of the
End of the race.
event.
Let's put it end of the
End
race.
of the race would be the best way
Yeah.
to put it. But exciting racing. And I'm going to give a hats off to our record service and everything, because they do an excellent job for us. It keeps the show rolling really smooth. Our ambulance
Yeah.
service and everything, best in the business today. It takes a total team
It
effort
does,
to
it
put
does.
the race on, and I really, again, thank you for that award. It means a lot to us.
I'll tell you, one of the things I've liked at I-35 this year is the new race director, Flowers.
Yeah, Carl Flower doing
Flowers.
everything he can. He kind of used to be a tech man, and well, still is a tech man for USRA. He has went all around different tracks. He knows racing inside out, and I really think that is a great move.
Came from Heartland Park, didn't he?
Yeah, came from Heartland Park, Topeka. Really looking forward to seeing him and seeing him grow as a race director and everything.
Yeah.
Really look forward to working with him. And Brisbane Record Service, again, is our record service of choice there at I-35 Speedway. Great job they do for us there.
Okay, we got almost all of it done except the last one, and that is going to be the announcer of the year. And the nominees are Moi.
Be me, Rick Staley. I'm
Rick
one of the
Staley.
nominees.
Lakeside, John Lowry. And at Valley, we got Daniel Johnson. At CMS, we have the team of Alan Miller and Sam Sticklin. And may I just mention that I really liked you and Alan working together, and I won't
Yeah.
say no more.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
I liked you and Alan together. I like team announcers.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you can get into a deal where one guy will just wear you out. I mean,
Yeah.
especially week after week, if you're a race fan that comes all the time. And the team approach to me gives the fan a little breather, so to speak.
I like it. I like the team approach really
Yeah.
good. And let me just say, for the years I did, me and Alan did announce together, it was an honor to work with your son back and forth and have the lingo that me and him had and able to entertain fans. It was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. Of course, my favorite thing was, as I told you on the phone last night, was Alan would always say, "Okay, Pops, take us home."
yeah, he enjoyed that one. He enjoyed
I
that
really
one.
like that.
Yeah.
There again, as tough as it is to make a decision, I'm picking Alan Miller and Sam Strickland as the announcers of the year.
Yeah.
So congratulations, guys. You do a good job. Of course, Sam, he's been around the business for
Yes.
quite a while.
Yeah.
And
You can hear him, USRA broadcast.
Exactly,
You hear him on the
exactly.
radio, everything else. Sam is one of the most versatile announcers you will ever see or hear, and I tell you what, all around nice guy. too.
Yeah, yeah, and can talk forever. I
Yeah.
mean, I know
Yeah.
you got some lingo,
Yeah.
but that guy can talk. He does his research, and when I've been in the booth, I've never actually listened to a USRA broadcast, but I've been in
Yeah.
the booth, and I mean, he's got his notes. He's
Yeah.
prepared for 3-4 hours
Yeah.
of broadcast if he has to. But we're talking a lot about Sam, but you also have to bring Alan in there.
Oh, yeah.
Alan
Yeah.
been an announcer down there at CMS, and then was at Valley for a while, and then
Valley
went back to
Speedway for a
CMS.
while, back to CMS.
But
Those two guys used to do the card banquet. This year, of course,
Yeah.
Daniel done the card banquet, but those two used to go back and
Yeah.
forth with the card banquet. Very, very entertaining with Sam on the mic, and Alan really enjoyed them. And I tell you what, when I started my career out here announcing, I paid a lot of attention to Sam on the mic, how he handled himself, how he worked with the fans, how he done his homework. He had the stats to back up what he was saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't just off collar or off
Yeah.
sleeve. You know, he knew what he was talking about. I vowed then that when I pass along information to the fans, I want to know it's accurate.
It's accurate.
I do my homework. So
Yeah.
I thank him for training me to do that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And second is Rick.
And I thank you very much for that. It's just an honor to even be put in the same class with these announcers because these are some of the best
Yeah,
in the
they are.
country right here. Daniel, like I said before, from Valley, he done the card banquet this year, and what a job he done. He really done well. Really done well.
You know, we're lucky, I think, in this area in that we have so many good announcers around
Yeah.
that, because they're so important to me. One part of the thing is, as a race fan, when you go, and I still look at all this as a race fan. I may be a video guy and do stuff like that, but as a race fan, you know, I want to hear some information about the racers.
Background.
Little background, you know, where they've raced, how many years they've raced, stuff like that. And it really interests me to get that information.
And something I've noticed as an announcer that I try to do, because as a fan, I wanted to know if a new car comes to track, tell me who this is.
Who it
Tell
is.
me where they're from. Tell me a little bit about
Where
them.
they usually
So I
run.
go out of my way to go through the pits early, make sure I know every driver in there, write it down, do my homework. That way I make sure the fans, I can pass along the correct information to the fans.
Exactly. And that's what they want. They want to be informed.
Yeah.
They want to be informed. And of course, one of the other things that I appreciate about the announcers at the tracks is they really work with me on the video, because a lot of times you will go to a track and the announcer will not even talk when the races are going on, and that doesn't make for good video.
No, and not only that, we went out with 35. We even ot you a plug-in now.
Yeah,
where you don't have to
exactly,
do nothing but come
exactly.
in and plug in. So,
And up at Phil's place,
Atchison.
Atchison. Thank you, man. I'm having a terrible time.
Oh, you're okay.
But anyway, it's an important part of the video, because there again, as a race fan that's watching the video, I think they want to know who's where and what.
Yeah.
and what lap it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I really appreciate guys like yourself and Sam and those, they go the extra effort when they know I'm there to do that so that the people on the video can be informed. And
Well, we appreciate
I
you
really
being
appreciate
there
it.
and appreciate the job you do. And a little bit of information on Atchison. I'm sure next year it'll be in the running for one of the tracks for the track of the year because they are IMCA sanctioned modifieds and stock cars this year at Atchison County Raceway. So
Right.
thought I'd throw that out there, let the fans know what's going on with that track.
I do have to kind of apologize a little bit in that I didn't have Atchison in there or the other IMCA track up at Topeka.
Well, down
Thunderhill.
at Mayetta.
Thunderhill.
Mayetta, yeah.
I didn't throw them in there. In fact, like for the A-Mod driver, I wanted to put Stephen Bowers in there.
Right.
Because Stephen had a stellar year up there.
Yep.
And a lot of good drivers up at Atchison, but I kind of just stuck with these right here.
And Atchison had that one big race this year where they brought the USMTS modifieds in. Rodney Sanders winning that, but Guston is the one that put on the show.
Yeah, he did.
He got up on the high side. How do you say it? There was about a 5-foot berm up there.
Yeah.
He made it a 1-inch berm before he was through because exciting racing, only one caution on that 1/5 mile of dirt.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but thought I would just throw that out
Yeah.
there with Atchison. So
I apologize to
Oh, that's
both of
fine.
those tracks, and next year we'll try and do it. In fact, I'd like to see the Cheeseworks awards grow. Eventually, maybe we could get to some plaques and stuff, but that may take some sponsors or
Oh, yeah.
whatever, you know,
Yep.
to get to that, because as you
Yeah.
know, we do this kind of on a limited
Yeah,
budget.
if we just keep plugging Napa Auto Parts of St. Joe and Dale and Tim Eaton Collision Repair, and also pick up in Race Haven, maybe they will come up with some trophies for us next year. We'll kind of walk in here today and they set us up in a good spot. So again, really want to thank them, honestly, sincerely thank them for coming through for us. This is a perfect place to do this.
Exactly. We were going to do it at Perkins, but this is so much better than having people eating around you.
Yeah, and me smelling food, I'd have been drooling and everything anyway. So yeah.
Well, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up for the Cheeseworks Awards for 2015. Rick, once again, let me thank you for taking your time out of your schedule to meet me here in St. Joe. I think it's about an hour or so drive for you as it was for me to get here.
And thank you, Mike. I appreciate everything you do, and I really appreciate you involving me in this.
Once again, folks, I hope you enjoyed the 2015 race season. And I know you're like Rick and I, we are both looking forward to the season that's coming up. And all I can say is make sure and get out to a local track of your choice, whatever it is, and get out there and support racing for 2016, because heavens knows they need all the support they can get. The tracks do, the racers do,
Yes.
the sponsors do, everybody does. I mean, it's a kind of pat each other on the back kind of thing, and you know, spend that money and help racing out. But I hope you've enjoyed the 2015 Cheeseworks Awards. We'll see you next year.
See you.